start.
The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those Knuckleheads of Liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty. We are coming at you on August 24th, 2022, and we've got a nice break today from our dismal news about what's happening with the Biden administration every week. This time we actually have a special guest, Larry Sharpe, but let me introduce you to our panel first, and then we'll dive into that. So in our upper right-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our lower right-hand, or left-hand corner, rather, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. And today in our upper left corner, we have Larry Sharpe, who is running for governor in New York State as a libertarian.
Terrible idea.
I know, we're going to hear all about it today. This is your second time, so it's not your first rodeo.
It makes me dumber, not smarter. It makes me dumber.
Yeah. Well, and James, maybe if I could get the page up too, just so everybody can see Larry's page. This is where you can go. You can get a lot more info about what's going on with Larry's campaign. After we're done with the show, you have to stick here and listen to the show first before you jump off for that. Yeah. So, anyways, Larry, how's the campaign going? This is.
Yes, it is going. I would say that. How is it going? To be forward, this was a lot harder than last time. And the biggest issue that we had this time was ballot access. New York State changed the ballot access laws, and they made them so difficult that almost nobody could actually make it, right? You see you're showing it right then and there. It's very hard to find anyone who can make it on. In fact, Howie Hawkins couldn't make it. I couldn't make it. A multi-millionaire couldn't make it. A sitting congressman couldn't make it. Nobody made it. This will be the first time in 80 years that New York State will not have an independent governor candidate on the ballot. The first time. It will only be the top two, the Democrat and Republican. That's it. No other independent will be on the ballot unless I win my literally fourth appeal. Nope. I have been fighting this for months. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on this. I spent $300,000 to get on the ballot to get thrown off by the way, a tactic never used before. The Republicans and conservatives in my state actually sued me in civil court to throw me off of the ballot, to force the BOE to throw me off the ballot in case the BOE said it was okay. So they had to make sure that I got thrown off the ballot. So I was on the ballot, and then they threw me off the ballot. So
what was the basis, Larry? What was the basis of the suit?
It was basically you have to do exactly every single thing right. Everything. They basically took all the rules and put it in the lawsuit. And how it's supposed to work in New York State is everything is prima facie. For those who don't know what that means is if it looks good enough, it's good enough, right? We assume it's good enough unless someone says it isn't. And then they must say the reason why they think it isn't good. Like, do you think that the signatures are fake or the people are not real or whatever? You think there's something wrong. Then the Board of Elections checks it out and goes, oh, wait a minute, you're right. This guy is really an alien or whatever, right? And then throw him off the ballot. Makes sense. But if they don't do that, then there's no need. They literally said they blamed everything. And they did it in civil court, not the BOE. The BOE is prima facie. Civil court is not. Civil court is, and then things like, for example, you have to have at least 500 signatures from at least half of the congressional districts. We, for literally 6 weeks in New York State, had no congressional districts. They redistricted in the middle of the election. So how could I do that? It's impossible. Yeah. Literally impossible. So there's no way I could do it. It was literally impossible. Everything to do the way they wanted me to do it was impossible. Then I had to list things effectively. I had to sign every single sheet. I mean, it was just I had 5,200 sheets.
Wow.
100.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane. So Leon, it was basically, if you're not perfect, you're gone, which is directly against the Board of Elections rules, which is why they sued me in civil court.
Well, didn't they also triple the number of signatures you had to have this time around too?
15,000 signatures. In the summertime, when New York State has fairs and big places for people to go out and see, and it went to 45,000 signatures, tripled in 6 weeks, and then shifted into the spring, where in New York State, we still have snowstorms. And we had one during that time. So when you have a snowstorm, it shuts down New York State for days. Who's going to be going out in a snowstorm? Not going to happen. And then it's snow everywhere. It ruins everything. They didn't care. So I would have had to do this right. I would have had to get 2,000 signatures per day for 5 weeks straight. Someone who's amazing will get 100 a day. That's an amazing signature gatherer. The average person gets about 25 to 50. That's the average person.
So, Larry,
I would need 40 people a day to work for 5 weeks straight, for 5 days a week, 10 hours a day. So that's why it cost me so much money.
So what is this? What is the status of your appeal? Where you at, and how does it look?
We've lost the last 3 court cases, and just blatantly, openly, the judges just say, not in these words, but basically, go to hell, we don't care. So we had several reasons why we said it was wrong. We said, I know that initially you thought it was fair. Makes sense. You could believe that. But now we have data. Nobody made it. Nobody. So not a sitting congressman, not me who's been on the ballot in the past, not a multimillionaire. Clearly, it is impossible. So now change it. This is like, Brown versus Board of Education. We thought separate but equal was going to be fair. Then we found that it wasn't, and we changed it. Makes sense. And they went, no. Then I said, it's unconstitutional. There are literally 250,000 New Yorkers who vote against the two-party system every single year, at least, if not more. They do it every time. And the biggest protest vote possible, is a protest vote against the system. Some people say staying home. No, staying home may show apathy, but voting against the system is a protest vote. It is unconstitutional. You'll take away my First Amendment rights. And they went, no. And then I said, well, wait a minute, hold on. There's more. In 2018, I spent $500,000, 10,000 of my own dollars, a year of my life, and I got party status. Since I was a kid, ever I can remember, it's always been party statuses for 4 years, every 4 years. You just changed the rules in the middle and removed my ballot access. That's an implicit contract, me and the state. You can't renege on that. They went, no. Yeah. Now, if that was anything else, if Tim, I was renting out my garage to you for $200 a month, and you were doing it for years, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't need it anymore. And now Jason says, hey, Larry, can I rent out your garage? And I go, yeah, absolutely. He goes, how much? $200. Oh, great. So you give me $200. Then a week later, I go, you got to give me another $300. I just changed the rules on you. There's no way any judge goes, that's fair. You get to sell all Jason's stuff, auction it off. That's fair, Larry. There's no way a judge says that. But now it's an agreement with the state, and there's no implicit contract. The saddest part is the New York judiciary just supports the state and the government. It doesn't support the people. Yeah. And the last piece I said was, and I did my last piece I did pro se so that I could speak, because I would show up at the events. I drive hours to go to some small court somewhere, and the judges would say, no, Larry, we don't want you to speak. No. So I lose my entire day to not speak. I said, fine, I'll represent myself then. You can't shut me up then. So then I literally said to them, I said, look, what's the harm? If I'm on the ballot, and this is my exact words to the judge, if I'm on the ballot, people can just not vote for me. They did it by the millions last time. So that's obvious that people could just not vote for me. There is no harm in that. But if I'm not on the ballot, hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers are disenfranchised. 100,000 voted for me last time. So for sure them, plus every other person who doesn't want to vote for the rest. That's data. They went, no.
You know what's funny about all this is that the Democrats and Republicans have shown that they're incapable of effectively running a government, and yet they're very capable of keeping third parties off the ballot.
Whoa, are they good? Oh my God, are they? That's a skill set they have. Yes. Yeah. That is a skill set they got down. Absolutely. When it comes to creating monopoly, Government's always good at that. I mean, that's kind of a government skill set, right? Creating monopolies and oligarchies. I mean, you know, there are very few things government does well, but that's one of them.
Yeah.
That is.
Well, you know,
killing and imprisoning people is also something they do well. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Just a couple.
So Larry, you're on your fourth appeal right now.
Yep.
And when is that going to be heard? And how does it look?
We don't have a court date yet, so we don't know when that date is going to be yet. But we have one in the past. Believe it or not, we've done this before. I think it was 2016 or 14. We did it before, and we actually got on the ballot October 20th, 3 weeks before the election. So we have done this before, and the guy we have running it is a guy named Gary Janoyan. He's a great lawyer. He's done it before. He's the one who did it last time. So I got him again to do it again this time. If anybody could do it, it's him. He's the guy who could do it. So if it can't be done, he's done it before, he'll do it. And we'll get on. But right now I'm running an official write-in Larry Sharpe campaign as I cross the state. So I'm doing a write-in now. If I lose the appeal, we'll still have a write-in. If I'm able to still get 130,000 write-in votes, which is a lot to get in a write-in, I still get ballot access and party status for the Libertarian Party for next year. So it will still work if I'm able to do it. It's challenging. Now, the good news on this one is just recently, last year, Buffalo, which is New York State's second largest city, the mayor won in a write-in. So we do have some precedent of it working. So that's the good news. The bad news is getting 130,000 people to show up and write my name in is not going to be easy. I need a lot more money. I got to raise a lot more money so I can literally buy stamps. I'm not joking. We want to buy stamps so we can give those out and people can show up and stamp. In New York State, stamping someone's name is legal in the write-in box. You can't do that. That is legal. So we're hoping to buy 50,000 stamps and get them out there, and that should help us get over the hump if we can.
Got you. Okay.
So, but if I get in the ballot, we're set. If my name's on that line, I'll get 250,000 votes. Because that's how many people always vote against duopoly anyway.
Yes.
So they don't have to know who I am. They're just like, oh, he's not them? Larry Sharpe it is.
Larry Sharpe.
So I'll get those. And I got 100,000 last time. So I've already got 100,000 in the bag. The question is, how many more can I get?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And of course, New York is it's about 19 million population in the state of New York. So
about 19 million population, about 12 million are eligible to vote, about 10 million are registered to vote. In elections like this, we'll get about 6 to 7 million to vote, generally speaking, in that area. We've gone as low as 3 million. Like we have had very low turnout sometimes, 3 or 4 million. But we'll probably get about 6 million to vote. Right now, my recent polling, we polled Zogby, is it Siena, Emerson? I poll anywhere from 5 to 7%. The most recent one I polled was 7%. So if I average 6% of 6 million votes, that's 360,000 votes.
Yeah. What it seems like the best advertising that you could possibly have is the job that the Democrats are doing running everything. I mean, they have to be looking for somebody else.
Not at all. I wish that were true, but it's not. What both sides do very well in my state, Democrats are amazing at it, is they just throw culture war at you. They just ignore what they're doing and throw culture war, right? So you can't vote for Republicans because abortion done, and that's it. Throw culture war, and doesn't matter. Even though in New York State, abortion is codified. Abortion rights are codified in my state. In New York State, they're not going anywhere. If you're a free choice person, you're set. They're literally going nowhere. They're codified in my state already. They were codified before anything happened. So it's not even a real culture war. Maybe if you're in Kansas, perhaps it's a real culture war for you. New York State, it's not even it's a fake culture war, and they throw that out and people eat it up. So they don't bother bringing up issues. They just go, isn't Donald Trump evil? Yes. Done. Orange man bad still works. Just saying. That still works.
Yeah, I think it'll work until he's dead and buried. But go ahead, Tim.
No, that just speaks to the mentality of the people that it works upon.
Yes, true.
Well, but that's another piece, right? You got to remember, people respond to the environment they're in. So as long as they keep creating an environment of us versus them, left versus right, where there's no other option, that's why right now we're in a world to where the vast majority of people aren't voting for something. They're voting against something. And a victory isn't my side winning or my life getting better. A victory is the other guy loses. So it's always, we got to stop the Trump people. We got to stop the libs, or we got to stop the progressive. We got to stop the conservatives. It's never, we have to make our life better. We have to make our world. That's who has a line like that? No one does. I'm the only guy who says that. Everybody else says, got to stop the other. And if we stop the other, then we've won. See, isn't your life better? Well, no, my life still sucks, but it could be worse.
So Larry, then what is the core of your campaign, and what it is that's going to make Larry Sharpe a different governor than the people who are actually on the ballot and who's probably going to end up running the state? I don't know. It depends on how things go.
No, the reality of it is either an outsider wins in New York or a Democrat wins. That's it. That's how the game is played in my state. Okay. A non-Democrat has not won, a Republican has not won any statewide election in New York State. Nothing. Not senator, not attorney general, not governor in 20 years. Nothing in 20 years.
Wow.
And the state's just getting bluer, not redder. How do I know that? Florida is red, not because Florida became red, because all the New Yorkers who are red moved to Florida. That's why Florida is red right now, right? It's all my people who went over there. That's why, yes. So they're all gone. It's almost 3-1 Democrat, Republican across the state. In New York City, 6-1 Democrat to Republican. There is literally no chance for a Republican to win. But the Republican Party keeps lying to people going, this is the year. Trust us this time. Nah, it's Lucy taking football away. Charlie Brown's going to fall on his ass again. That's just how it works every time. But so the only person who wins is either a Democrat or an outsider. It was so obvious that back in 2021, when they ran the mayoral election and Cuomo was still the governor at the time, Cuomo said publicly about New York City, he said, we're going to have an election in June to decide who the mayor is. Our election's in November. Why did he say June? That's the primary. Correct. He said the quiet part out loud.
He was here. He has the quiet part out loud, right?
He said the quiet part out loud.
Exactly.
He said, we're going to have an election in June to decide who the mayor is going to be. The election's in November. Yeah, that's the fake election. The real one is in June.
Is the primary, yes.
Yes. So with that in mind, what makes me different is I'm the only guy who actually has answers. Literally. Right? The reason why people like me, if they do, is always the same thing. They either heard me on the radio, heard me on TV, heard me on a podcast, or saw me in person. I cross the state every year. I've been crossing the state, touching every county, all 62, every year for 5 years. And when people ask me questions, I actually give them an answer. I don't go, yeah, it's terrible, and the other guy's worse. I don't do that. I actually give you an answer. And some people just want me to yell other guy bad. Those people don't support me. But the people who actually want an answer, they go, my God, you answer the question. The amount of times I've heard someone go, Larry, I voted for you because I asked you a question and you actually answered it. I hear that at least monthly. That's how often I hear that, all the time. Because I do it on my podcast. All my podcasts are live, and I take questions and comments from the audience, even when they're bad. I mean, sometimes I get mauled in comments, just horrible stuff. Sometimes I take them and I answer the question, right? And when I'm in person, I get yelled at sometimes at events. If you ever see my events live, I get yelled at sometimes. And the reality of it is, I've done probably 400 or 500 events already, to include debates since 2017. I did 300 just in 2018, and I've done all of them live, no notes. Everyone, live, no notes, and almost all of them I put online. You can go back, and if you care, you can go back and check them all out. I just do it, and so people actually believe in trend. I talk about transparency, so I create transparency. I've got to try to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. So that's why I'm saying the 100,000 people who supported me, I'm sure still support me, because while my support is smaller, it is dedicated. Right. Indeed. Those who have come my way stay with me. They don't fall back and forth. Right. Those few who do. And the biggest piece is when I bring this up all the time. Obviously, I hope I win this thing. Of course I do. If I'm able to get in the ballot, then that means I'll be able to get in the debate stage. I get to follow the Jesse Ventura model, which is the closest model I have. Right. Jesse Ventura won the 90s. He became the governor of Minnesota as independent. And how did he do it? awesome debate stage, and then boom, he becomes governor. I have to hope that model will work for me. That's the best model I have to follow. That's my goal. I have a campaign. I'm running. I'm out there. People know me. If I get in a debate stage, I knock it out of the park, I'm the next governor. If I'm the next governor, if that actually happens, it will literally change the entire nation overnight. New York State will go from blue to gold. And people say, well, Larry, you're being hyperbolic. No, in this year, in 2018, my election, my race is the most important in the nation. Larry, you're crazy. No, it is. Every other election will change nothing in the country. Nothing. So there'll be a couple more Republicans, a couple more Democrats here or there. So nothing will change. If I win, the entire nation changes overnight. Third parties become real. Libertarian Party becomes real. The idea that change can happen becomes real. Everything changes. Not just that, every single person will be trying to get a hold of me to interview me, and I can just spew liberty across the entire world, literally. So it will change everything. But what if I don't win, but I just come in second? Same thing. The fact that I would actually beat the Republicans would still be news. But more importantly, in my state specifically, our Board of Elections says that the top two parties run the Board of Elections, which means me and Democrats would run it, right? But there's not enough libertarians in the state to run the Board of Elections. We don't have enough of us, right? So there's no way that would work. So what will they do? They'll rewrite the rules. And I don't mind that. They'll have to include us, which means my state will go from a one-party democracy right now, Democrats, to a multi-party democracy overnight, and we can now create coalitions against the establishment. Again, impact, even if I come in second. And again, people will have a microphone in my face. How'd you come in second? How'd you beat the Republicans? I get to spew liberty across the country.
So
and
Larry,
if you win, third, it still works. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you win, okay, what it is you will do different as governor of New York?
I could be here for 6 hours on that, Leon. You've got to be a little bit more specific. I mean, I have policies for almost everything on my website. Do you want me to tell you the most important thing? Do you want me to tell you a specific thing? What would you rather?
Tell me what is the most important thing you will do differently.
The most important thing is I will create what's called the New York State Social Trust. This is following the same model we have already in Norway, in Singapore. It is a separate company, not run by the government, a separate company that creates a trust. This trust, will not be debt. It will be a dividend-based trust that permanent capital will want to put money into, a safe haven, tax haven also for permanent capital. And people say, wait a minute, you're supporting permanent capital. No, what I'm doing is getting permanent capital out of the real estate market. Permanent capital right now is in the real estate market and is making housing impossible, and it's making us a nation of renters. It's all because permanent capital has moved into the housing market because the bond market's so bad. They used to go into the bond market. Now they're in the housing market. Get them out. Give them something else to do. Also now rates are going up. So the bond rate should go up also. What I'm doing and that should pull them out of the housing market. You pull them out of the housing market, housing prices stabilize and go down a bit, rent stabilize a little bit. Now we have a chance of regular people actually getting some housing. But I'm not done. That trust, if we do it right, could easily be as big as Singapore's or as big as Norway's. Those are $1 trillion funds. We do that, we can immediately pay within 2 years. We can pay for all schooling in New York State directly from that tax. If we do that, it ends the school tax. School tax ending across New York State will cut property tax by about 50% across New York State. Depending upon where you live in the state, it's about 50%. Massive property tax cut without losing schooling. You still have schooling and you lose it, but the taxation goes away, right? I'm not someone who wants to lower taxes. If I lower taxes, people just raise them again. I'm about eliminating taxes. So that make them come back, you got to do a whole new law. I'm making it a whole lot harder to retax us. So I'm eliminating the tax. It's gone. So I have to have a whole new law to put it back again. So when it's gone, now what happens? All of that goes down, but not just that. Now I don't care where your kid actually is. I don't care where they live because it's not tied to property tax, which means now the money that will come directly from the trust will follow the kid.
No.
So direct to vouchers then.
Not to vouchers. No, vouchers is a bad word.
Okay.
I'm not vouchering nothing. There's no vouchers. I'm just saying that the money will follow the kid. I don't care where your kid goes to school. Wherever the kid goes, the money follows the kid. That's what I said. I didn't say voucher, Jason. You did. I didn't say that. I said money follows the kid is what I said.
That's a naughty word in a blue state.
That is correct.
Very naughty.
I didn't say that. You said the bad word. I didn't say the bad word. You did. So yes, the money follows the kid, but I'm still not done. If we do it right by the 4th year, we can cover enough to where we can get rid of the state income tax. So we can dump the state income tax at the 4 years, giving everybody a raise and encouraging businesses to stay in my state, and actually also encouraging people to retire in my state. That's what I want. So that's the most important thing that I would do differently, and the most important piece. Allowing the wealthy to pay for our services voluntarily. Allowing the wealthy to pay for services without taxation. That's what I'm trying to achieve.
Got you.
Really quick, Larry, too, I was wondering, with all the challenges you're facing and, certainly all the great ideas you've got, and the fact that you're such a visible candidate for the Libertarian Party in so many ways, is the Libertarian Party doing enough to help you out there in New York? That's I guess, is there something that they could be doing more for you?
Anything would be nice. Anything would be nice. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just wanted to give you a chance to shout that out because I don't know
nice.
how many live ears,
I'm literally two things that drives me crazy about the National Party. I'm literally, when it comes to raising money for candidates, when it comes to raising money for local affiliates, nobody raised more money than me. Nobody. I've been to so many state affiliates, raised so much money, supported so many candidates, supported them in many ways. I'm a lifetime member. I'm a monthly donor. And New York State, if you don't get ballot access, if I can't get ballot access in New York State, it can't be gotten. It can't be gotten. A multi-millionaire guy worth $50 million couldn't do it. A sitting congressman couldn't do it. Which means if I don't get it this time, there will not be 50 state ballot access for any LP presidential candidate for the next generation. That will go away for a generation. And everybody,
you think other states?
LP said, whatever, and they walked away.
Yeah.
Are you thinking that other states would adopt a similar policy as New York regarding the ballots?
And that's what I always say. New York is a battleground state. Whatever happened for us as liberty-loving people, New York's the battleground state. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, that's just more Democrats, more Republicans today or next week or next month or next year. That's back and forth. Who cares about that? I'm talking about actually who was the worst for the lockdowns? Who was the worst for everything? The gun laws? It's us, right? We're the ones who do all the things. If they get away with New York, it's coming to your state. It might take a couple of years. If it's New Jersey, it's coming tomorrow. If it's Utah, 30 years. But either way, it's coming to your state. You can guarantee it's coming to your state.
Well, that definitely sounds like the word of the day. And Larry, is there anything you want to leave the audience with real quick about your website or anything else?
Larry Sharpe, and that's Sharpe with an E, and the E stands for electable.
Awesome. Well, definitely super important candidate, and we're so glad you were able to join us. And we're going to have a podcast with him that will also be out, so catch that too. Until the next one, stay free.
Yes, indeed. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast.